acquisition of property at 8207 Highway 47 North. Recommendation of adoption of a vegetable garden ordinance. Recommendation of adoption to amend current medical marijuana ordinance. Recommendation of adoption of the zoning code 2018 edition. And recommendation of amending home occupation ordinance. And then discussion regarding the amendment of 2 monthly public hearings.
I might suggest, Mayor, you might take them one at a time, otherwise you might have chaos. Why don't you just start with the first one and take any public comment? Of course, if people show up later, we can always catch up at the end, but it might be more organized to take them one at a time so the board can digest it all.
The voluntary annexation would be Jeff Vogel saying, where the asphalt plant used to be annexing into houses, trucks, a service center, and I think there's pictures and everything in the packets. So this is basically up for discussion. It still has to go to public hearing for planning and zoning as well. So it's just in for discussion. Tonight you guys have everything in the packet for that.
So this first has not gone to planning and zoning?
It has.
Well,
It has gone-
yeah,
excuse me, planning and zoning did make a recommendation for the Board of Aldermen to
I
approve.
thought you said that it needed to go.
Well, I think it has to go back.
It will be, no, this would be the public hearing for that.
After the recommendation from
Correct.
the NC, thank you.
Correct.
On annexation, you only need one public hearing. This is the public hearing, it's for the public to comment, and then it has to sit after this hearing on this one for 15 days, in case there's anyone in the public that protests or whatever. It'll be on your second
Correct.
agenda in March, because your first meeting is less than 15 days from today. But it's already gone to planning and zoning, and I think they recommended that it
Yeah.
come. Their recommendation is to move forward. No, there's only one public hearing on this one, so now it's just, does the public have any comment on the annexation?
I actually have a question. So the picture that he gave us shows a fence, and then in the diagram, it shows a privacy fence all the way around the back parcel. Do we know what's going to be in there? Like, is he going to be running like a salvage yard out of there, or what is the purpose of that tall, very large fence?
That will be storage for vehicles that he tows that he has to store until they are taken care of, however that may be. There will be no salvage, no scrapping, nothing like that.
Okay. My understanding is the stuff that's below Burger King now will be
Correct.
located over there.
Correct.
Okay.
He does have to hold vehicles a certain amount of time before he can dispense of them, but there will be no, it is not going to be a scrapyard.
And does it have to change zoning? I know that there used to be the sale barn there, but will it
Yes.
change zoning?
That was part of his, and I believe that application's included.
Right.
Part of their application request was for it to be zoned as C2,
Right, I
which
saw
that area is already C2, so
Okay.
that does not have to be rezoned because it never has been zoned. So we'll
Right,
just
because
bring
we're
it in.
annexing it,
Right.
right, okay.
We'll bring it in as a C2 if Board of Aldermen approve it.
Okay.
Any other questions about the annexation?
We just ask if anyone in the public wants to speak on that one and not move to the next one.
Recommendation of adoption of the vegetable garden.
This is the second hearing. This one has had its hearing in front of planning and zoning. Planning and zoning has, I think there's a draft ordinance, so this is for public hearing, the second public hearing. And then it's the board's pleasure when they want to take this ordinance up. And I think it's on it's on the agenda tonight.
Just basically putting hydroponic gardening in the back.
Mr. Sullivan, I don't remember, how many containers did we limit the property to have?
I believe it was no more than 6. Look, the verbiage now states container size limited to 30 gallons per container in the front yard. So,
So there's no number of limit for how many a property owner can have, just the size of the container if they sit in the front yard.
But you just said 6.
no,
There's not a limit on there.
there's no limit to the number, there is a 30-gallon minimum. If memory serves me correct, I believe planning and zoning, that recommendation was to just put a limit on the size. I thought that's what it was.
This is gonna come back and bite us. Because the property that had all the hydroponic barrels now have free range to just cover the front yard with 30-gallon containers. We're gonna have the same issue, just gonna be soil instead of water. Anybody not agree with me or agree with me?
My problem with that is it's, I mean, to me, then you're basically limiting the rest of the city for one property owner. Because, I mean, what if someone else wants to put, you know, has a yard instead of just a parking lot and wants to put 10 flower pots in their front yard, along their porch, along their sidewalk, wherever, and you put the number of 6, I mean, it's their yard, it's their property, they want to grow food. I don't feel like we should limit it to 6 containers in your front yard. I mean, I don't know what the balance there is, but it seems like to tell the rest of the community, you can only have X number of containers in your front yard. I don't know, I think that's a little bit too much I mean, for me personally, it's a little too much overreach. Like, I feel like the community needs to have the ability to garden in the way that they see best. I mean, I understand that it gives us no teeth to prevent something like that happening, except for if, I mean, it specifically says in here that they have to be kept and, you know, maintained. So, I mean, to me, that gives us at least a little bit of backbone to be able to enforce an ordinance if the garden is not in the condition of well-maintained, which to me, when the entire garden dies and it's just overgrown with dead foliage, that's not being maintained.
Mr. Goforth, you were a proponent of this.
Yes.
You have some views on this?
Was this wasn't published? Could I see a copy of what you're proposing? Sure.
Pretty sure there's only 2 changes, the size of the container up front and then the hydroponic in the back. I agree with you too.
Well, I agree with Alderman Sachs too, the overreach. so many laws that we can't enforce now. The police can't enforce traffic violations the way they need to. So how are we, with a team of 1, 2, counting his assistant, going to do the same thing?
Why do they gotta be 30?
Maximum size of 30 gallon.
Because they shouldn't have,
Yes, yes.
like the size of like a mom and pop.
You can't really grow a tomato. If somebody's only got a sunny front yard and they want to grow a tomato, they try to make it fair for somebody to be able to actually raise vegetables versus, something like that. It wouldn't quite work.
I don't think this addresses, say, flower pots with flowers in them.
It says garden.
Yes, it's garden.
Well, gardening is also flowers. So if we were to change it to vegetable, then, because if they have, let's put a number of 10 on it, that they can have 10, and 5 of them are flower pots, that makes it hard for them to go for more vegetable.
But like this is specific to vegetable gardening. It's specific to vegetables.
Yeah, if you look on.
There's no limit on this, in this ordinance that's in front of you, there's no limit.
All the types of vegetable gardens are allowed within the city limits, and this is not.
Okay.
Kind of a different question, but along the same lines. When we're talking on point 4, raised bed, planter box, container gardening, then there is a period, and it says container size limited to 30 gallons per container in the front yard. So when you're talking, like if someone puts in a retaining wall, someone puts in one of those really nice prefab, like raised beds, those are going to be bigger than 30 gallons. So with the period in there, are the raised bed planter boxes exempt from the 30-gallon container size, or would that also be included in there? And would we enforce that? I mean, to me, sometimes those things are beautiful and look very attractive when they're done right.
I think that's just a punctuation error. We meant for that to be raised beds, comma, containers, and the containers themselves can be no larger than 30 gallons.
So it would not, the 30-gallon limit would only apply to containers, not to raised beds. Perfect, that makes more sense. Thank you.
So in town, there's a couple galvanized, they're horse troughs, is what they are. Larger than 30 gallon, you're going to make that would be inappropriate, is that correct?
That would be considered a raised bed. in my
Thank you.
opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was exactly my question, was in reference to those specific containers like you were speaking to.
And the ones I've seen were on sidewalks. As well,
I
not
brought this up
front.
at the meeting, that the
Yeah.
seed catalogs actually have now raised bed containers that
Right.
look like water troughs, livestock water troughs. So, they can be attractive. I mean, the ones in the seed catalog are, because I believe they're vinyl.
Mhm.
Okay, the livestock type, they can be unattractive because they can rust. However, if anybody cares about their yard, they're going to paint them and make them attractive. If they're going to spend all their time and money to grow something, they're going to take care of them, I believe.
Right, which makes that other point almost moot if we, people are gonna have to spend a ton of money on steel,
Yeah,
everything else trying to
and
take care of stuff.
anybody who has tried to raise a garden in St. Clair knows that the rocker is about 2 inches down, so you have to truck soil in.
You gotta you need 6 inches, that's just it. You need 6 inches. Vegetable gardens shall be allowed on vacant lots or lots that do not have buildings, is that correct?
Yes.
So my lot that has a house on it, you're prohibiting me to have a vegetable garden?
No, sir.
I'm not reading it right.
If you have a vacant lot, and let's say that vacant lot is adjacent to your lot that your house sits on, and you want to put a raised bed garden on that vacant lot, you're allowed to do that.
That's separate from the lot.
Correct.
Thank you.
You could have a garden in your front yard of your house, the lot that your house currently sits on. You could also then do a raised bed garden on your vacant lot as long as you abide by the right of ways and the setback lines on that lot. Does that make sense?
And you need to keep, this is for the public to comment, not the board. I mean, it's.
Does that make
So you
sense?
cannot put your garden in the setback?
No, sir, you cannot put it on, you cannot be on the lot line. Just like you can't build right on a setback line or on a property line.
So you have to be 10 foot off, for instance, the side yard?
Correct. You don't want to put it on somebody else's property,
Well, no, it's not on somebody else's property.
but you don't want to put it right on the line and take a chance of it being in and up on somebody's property. So we're saying you have to be off the right of way and you have to be off the property line. You have to abide by the proper setbacks. That's by ordinance.
It's a waste of 10 feet. But that's my opinion.
There's another comment. We'll do next one. Five more public hearings.
Are there any
So
other
there's-
questions about the adoption of vegetable garden? Next, we have recommendation of adoption to amend current medical marijuana ordinance. Basically, before it said medical, and now we have comprehensive as well, so it's just to change the verbiage. Is there any questions from the public about medical marijuana ordinance? Recommendation of adoption of the zoning code 2018 edition. Are there any questions about the adoption of the 2018 codes? Recommendation of amending home occupation, which is basically bringing ours into state statute for it. Are there any questions about that? This is just discussion regarding the amendment of the 2 monthly public hearings. Right now, we have to have 2, and the state statute says we only have to do 1. This is what the planning and zoning, I think we touched base a little bit on that, where we have to post for 15 days for 2. And so if we go to 1, we can still have more than 1 public hearing, but only 1 has to be posted for 15 days. Is there any discussion about monthly public hearings?
Whatever we need them or not.
Right now, states we have to have 2, but state statute says we only need 1. So like, if we, however which way we decide to go with it, whether we want to put it in front of the Board of Aldermen, where the final decision is, even if we only, that would be the one posted for 15 days. But the planning and zoning have a meeting, we might to have one